Hello, and welcome back to the East Anglia Traditional Music Trust Big Sky Tradition, where we are on the third episode in our series documenting the Vaughan Williams Folk project. It's been a busy summer, not only for our young musicians who are preparing for their final performances, the first of which is in just a few days' time at FolkEast 2023 in Suffolk, but also the teaching part of the project. A large part of the Vaughan Williams Folk project has involved the Trust sending in amazingly talented workshop leaders into schools and events with the aim of teaching the songs collected by Vaughan Williams during his time in East Anglia. I was lucky enough to attend a few of these sessions with my camera and microphones and capture the process of passing these traditional songs on and performing them. The films of these sessions can be found on the Trust YouTube page, something which I highly recommend you check out. To truly show you the amazing people behind this though, here is a short collection of interviews with just a few of them, talking about their experience of working on this project. First up is workshop leader Ben Von Clark and principal of Woodside Academy, Ed Keynes.
1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. Hi everyone, so I'm Ben Von Clark and we're here just having done a recording session in this nice hall in Grays, and I'm actually from just down the road in Brentwood, and I run the University of Essex Choir, which is in North Essex, and so I was contacted by the people who have started up this project. They found out through that, and to sort of come and get some of these kids singing some of this lovely folk music, and I've loved it.
I'm Ed Keynes and I'm principal at Woodside Academy.
I'd like to know, what is your own history when it comes to folk music?
I learnt the violin at school, when I was at secondary school, and I played in Bristol Youth Orchestra, and then I went to college, not music college, but college of education to train as a teacher. And when I got to college, there wasn't a huge amount of classical music going on there, and I was looking for opportunities, and then at the time, and this was the early 70s, there was a huge amount of interest in folk music and all the popular things like Dylan and Joni Mitchell and things like that, and so everybody was into it, and there was a huge thriving folk club. I went along to that, got involved with that with my friend Rob, and we basically were playing music, and as you get into it, you get more into traditional music. But I think children should also learn the heritage of their own county and their own the local things and their own country, and they shouldn't be frightened to do that. You shouldn't be saying, well, that's being very nationalistic to do that. I think when you look at Vaughan Williams and Sharp, you can say, well, they were very nationalistic because they were trying to create English. Well, why not? They were just doing what Norwegians were done and what the Czechs had done and what the Germans originally had done, because their music came from folk song as well, and trying to create a voice, and they did that really by that kind of music. I mean, when I hear Vaughan Williams, it just sounds so English.
I mean, this folk song tradition is, everyone would have sung, everyone around here would have been singing and would have had their songs. Wouldn't have been a question of, hi, can you sing, which is such a depressing question. So I just feel that we need to do as best we can to remind children at a young age that actually that's something that we could all do, should all do, and it's really nice and fun. You go down the road to the London Stadium, everyone is singing the West Ham songs, but they don't kind of sing in their normal life. And I'd love to get it more normal again, and this is what Vaughan Williams was doing. He was desperate to capture a tradition that was dying out, and they're worried so much about some of these great tunes that no one would know what they are. And, I came across the tunes via him singing to start with, some of the great ones like, I heard the voice of Jesus say, da, 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 da. When I learned the actual original words he heard were about sort of some ghastly murder with some woman being chopped up under the floorboards. So, let's keep this thing alive,
Why in particular Vaughan Williams? What drew you to
Vaughan Williams? It's been special to me since I first heard Fantasia which was when I was at school. And I think I actually heard it on a visit to the planetarium. I think they were playing it there. And I thought, this is so beautiful. And I had a recording of it. I just love Vaughan Williams. And then when I was at college, and we were always looking for bits of music, and we were looking, looking in junk shops for books. And there was this old book, and it was a very tatty copy of Vaughan Williams's songs from Eastern Counties with piano accompaniment. And in this book was Bushes and Briars. And it actually said it was collected from Essex, Ingrave in Essex. And then when I started teaching, I came to Redbridge to work at festival, and then I came to Brentwood as a deputy head, and I knew that Vaughan Williams had collected Bushes and Briars in Ingrave, and that was just quite close. And to be honest, that was one of the reasons I quite liked the idea of living there. It was sort of like, this is where that happened, and I didn't know it, but I was actually living in the road just off the corner of where the school was, where he did that famous lecture, where he went there to give a lecture on folk song, and where one of the the daughters of the rector of Ingrave said, you must come along and hear some old people sing tomorrow. And that's where he heard Charles Potiphar and collected his song, and also subsequently collected the song which we're working on, which is Van Diemen's Land.
I'm very aware that when you go to other countries, sometimes they have their kind of songs, they're quite in touch with that sort of side of things, their traditional singing. A lot of people know, a lot of people sing. You go to a Spanish football stadium or something, the singing is extraordinary, it's amazing. Whereas we had this thing here, but I don't exactly know when or why people have stopped doing it in the same way. But certainly you go around now, and certainly post-COVID, people were scared of singing, weren't they? And especially there's a generation of kids who grew up through that, for 3 years of their life being told that singing is dangerous. So we've got to do our best to reverse it. These songs are, accessible, they're interesting, they got good tunes, and they're not kind of viewed as this high art like opera where people worry that they can be involved or not. A folk song is for everyone, isn't it? And it's quite obvious that from the style. So let's get everyone in, let's get them doing it.
I was also privileged to attend Wicket, a whole class ensemble teaching in 2023, which had been arranged by Suffolk County Music Services, and had a session led by Tracy Rayner teaching the song Homeward Bound to hundreds of eager children.
My name is Tracy Rayner. I work for Suffolk County Music Service, and I'm their events manager. And as part of being their events manager, I get to manage this amazing project, part of which you see behind me, which is a huge celebration of the first year of learning of some primary school instrumentalists who've been learning as a whole class an instrument with a teacher for the whole year. And this is a celebration of everything they've achieved over the year. So it's one of my pleasures that I get to manage this. I think what drew us to getting involved in the project was we received an email just before Christmas from the East Anglian Traditional Music Trust actually inviting us to a seminar of Vaughan Williams 150 at the Museum of East Anglian Life. And as part of that there was a string project, which we've also done, but there was also the hint of a primary vocal project in it as well. And vocal's my thing. I love to sing, and I was a singing teacher before this, and I love to work with large groups of children. So things started connecting, and I dropped the lovely people at the East Anglian Traditional Music Trust an email and said, what can we do together? I met with Nikki in January actually, When you get three creatives in a room, it's always sparky, so basically the three of us didn't stop talking. But we were batting ideas backwards and forwards as how we could reach the maximum amount of children with this amazing project. This kind of music absolutely mustn't get lost, it's our heritage. And so I said, well look, I teach a song on the day to 2,500 children at the end of the summer term. Why can't it be your song? And so we started the long process of finding the best song that we could that was collected by Vaughan Williams in our area.
Do you remember how old it is? 100 years. It's been written down for 100 years. It's probably been around for a lot longer than that. But we don't know how long it's been around for because nobody ever wrote it down before.
Why this song? Oh, that's a good question. Well, there were several things it had to be. It had to be collected by Vaughan Williams. It had to be collected in East Anglia, and it had to be something suitable for children. Not only that, things that children could engage with. And we batted lots of ideas backwards and forwards. So I'd find one and Nikki would say, oh, that's great, but it's not collected in East Anglia. And she'd find one and I'd say, verse 16's really dodgy, let's not do that one. So eventually we found this lovely sea shanty, which I thought our kids are going to love singing that, and we can absolutely make something of this. And so that's where it came from. How have the kids responded? I think it's depended largely on the venue that we've worked in, because we've worked in 5 different venues over the last week. It depends on the size of the group you're working with. So we've worked with some small groups of 120, and then this group, which is huge, it's 350. And the dynamics within that are always very different. But what has come out from all of it is that they absolutely latch into the chorus, which is what I thought they'd do. The challenges they've had is there's some archaic language, and so we've spent some time in the workshops unpacking the language, and you might see that I use actions for trying to help them remember the language that we're using. So we do weigh anchor and we do unfurl the sails, and when they see that, it triggers them. They think, oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to be singing. I work differently with a big group than I do with a little group, and I read the energy in the room. So, if they're flagging, I'll stop and I'll come back to it later on. But, it's been an overwhelmingly positive response, and I really do hope that they go and engage further with this. There's been a lot of interest from the teachers, some of whom have emailed me and said, tell me more. I think it's really important to engage with our traditional music from East Anglia. I'm a Suffolk girl. I'm born and bred. My family comes from Laxfield and that area. And I heard tales from my dad of the old boys sitting around in the low house at Laxfield and singing and having their hot pokers that they would dip in their beer. And that kind of heritage is dying out, and it's really sad. We don't know what we don't know, and so it's up to people like us to try and bring it back into popular culture so that it doesn't get lost.
I personally was also involved in teaching a tune, working with workshop leader Faye Gosling. We both visited Wesley Middle School, where we taught the kids the traditional song 40 Miles, a tune that had been sung to Vaughan Williams by Mr. Charles Newby in Southwold on the 25th of October 1910. Here you can hear teacher Fran Hart speaking about how she's found the project.
On yonder hill at Marystown, a neat little cottage near to the wood, where I have never been, where I have never been.
I'm Fran Hart, I'm Assistant Head and Head of Music at Wesley Middle School.
How did you first hear about this project?
So I've worked with the Trust before doing a maypole dancing session with Alex Bartholomew, and then I was emailed on a list to see whether I wanted to get involved, and of course I immediately said yes, because it's the type of thing that, it's the culture, it's British culture, and it's good that the children know about these things and are involved in them.
Why do you think it's important that the children at the school know about British culture and British heritage?
Today there's so much pop music, and we forget about our roots as people, and folk music is the music of the people, and I don't want songs as great as Drunken Sailor, for instance, to get lost. It is part of our heritage, and if we don't teach it in schools, then where else are they going to learn it?
And how do you think the kids found the sessions that we've ran?
I think the first one they found it actually quite tricky to engage with, but as we saw from this second session, they were actually on it from the start of reminding them about the song. They were on it more than me, and I think that by the end, and their voices, well, that speaks a lot, I think.
Alongside all of these community outreach projects, the Trust has also been putting on events where those who are already somewhat involved in the English folk community could come along to develop their knowledge further. One such event was More Than Melodians that happened at Wingfield Barns, Suffolk in May. At this event, folk singer and teacher Janet Coralam led a session teaching Lovely Jane, a traditional folk song collected by Vaughan Williams.
And I run community choirs, and I've been involved in singing since I was little, just informally, and I used to teach music in primary schools, and now I really enjoy working with adults, and particularly adults who think that they can't sing, or someone's told them they can't sing, and I just enjoy giving them the freedom to be able to sing.
In particular, what's drawn you to folk music?
Again, my mum was a keen recorder player and a very good recorder player, and she started out playing with the Dolmetsch family, who ran courses also in Kent. But prior to that, she used to play recorder at folk sessions, like you can hear going on in the background here, and she broadened out into all sorts of other music, and Mum and Dad met in a choir at Morley College, but singing folk songs and has always kind of been there along with all sorts of music.
What drew you particularly to choosing that Vaughan Williams song?
Because I knew when I was about 16, a boy who was interested in me at the time asked me to join his folk group, and this was one of the songs, Lovely Joan, but it was the other version of it that's in the Penguin Book of Folk Songs, which is the much more well-known one that everybody sings. And so I was drawn initially just to the words and to the song, thinking, oh, great, I know that one. But then when I looked at it properly, I realised it was not a completely different tune, but quite a different tune to the one that's most widely known. And I thought, actually this is interesting, and I looked it up. I couldn't find anybody else singing it anywhere and doing anything with it, so I thought it could be a really interesting one to do. And I'd been in contact with Nicola and Alex at the start of the whole project to say, look, I've run a choir, but I'd really like to, it would be amazing to take 2 or 3 of these songs and to fit them for voices, for more than one voice, but to try to retain that element of telling the story and the folk singing feel to it, not make it into a choral piece. That's not what I wanted.
And how did you feel the session went?
I thought it went really well, actually. But, whenever I do a session like this, when people arrive, even people who are used to singing are a bit nervous and anxious, and you're never quite sure how much they're going to get comfortable and be able to give back. But it was brilliant. We did really, really well, and they really picked up the tune and got a hold of it and ran with it and managed to do the whole song. So that I was really pleased with, because I didn't think we'd be able to do that.
What initially drew you to the Vaughan Williams project and wanting to be a part of it?
Whilst I don't know his music massively well, then I thought, actually, that sounds really interesting. And I knew that he'd collected music, and I'd recently seen the most extraordinary film about George Butterworth, which had come out, and I'd seen at the Southwold Electric Light Cinema, which is the tiniest cinema in the world. It's just amazing. I was just really fascinated by the idea of these guys, middle class men going out and collecting music from people out in Suffolk and Norfolk.
Good morning to you, my pretty maid. Twice good morning, sir, she said. Are you going milking all alone? Oh, yes, take Christ, sweet lovely Joan. Then he pulled out her purse of gold and said, pretty maid, all this behold, all this I give with me to wed. Ah, cheeks they blush like roses red.
Looking to the future, we're very quickly approaching the climax of this project, that being the 2 performances by young musicians at FolkEast 2023 on this Friday 18th of August and East Anglia Traditional Music Day in September. They've been busy practicing and preparing for these performances, and though I haven't had a chance yet to catch up in person with them, they did spend some time interviewing each other when they had their residential trip early in July. Have a listen.
Ollie, have you discovered anything about folk music that has surprised you during this project?
So I've been quite narrow-minded and blinkered when it comes to folk music. I haven't really broadened my horizons much, so it's been great to hear and see everyone else playing from different aspects of the musical genre come together and create something nice.
How have you found the project so far?
It's been quite good, I think.
And how are you feeling about the upcoming performance?
I'm feeling much better after today.
After today,
Yeah.
Layla, what has your process been so far in creating your performance for FolkEast and Traditional Music Day? And has there been any challenges?
As a group, our process has been that we've worked individually on our own pieces inspired by the Vaughan Williams' resources. And then we've come together today and we will rehearse tomorrow and put all our pieces together. I think individually we've had quite different approaches to our pieces. I know I've sort of made a medley of songs and tunes that I've put together and developed that. But it's been quite challenging not being in the same place with everyone at the same time. Like, we're all spread out over the country, so we've been having to do a lot of stuff online and like back and forth. So it's been really good to come together this weekend and get something sorted.
Anna, how has this project changed or affected your own musical practice?
I think in the last few months my practice has involved more of recording and keeping tracks of myself, which I then add together to kind of see how things might look in an ensemble sense. So I think I've done more of that than I would normally, which has been an interesting aspect of my practice. How are you feeling about your upcoming performances, Eli?
Excited to go to FolkEast and perform the music of Vaughan Williams to people from Suffolk. Should be good.
Heather, how have you found the project so far?
I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed meeting new people and creating new music. It's been a bit challenging because it's all online and I've never done that before. but I've learned a bit more about like how to do that, and I've learnt more about Vaughan Williams, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and yeah, and hopefully we'll have a great performance at FolkEast.
So for now, I'll leave you here, just days before the first big performance at FolkEast 2023. If you haven't got a ticket, I strongly urge you to buy one, as not only will you be able to see the amazing young musicians being showcased on Friday the 18th of August at 1:45pm at the Moot Hall Stage, but also you'll be able to see a film made by myself. This is a short 15-minute piece that documents all the amazing work done by the Trust and can be found playing every day at 2pm at the Vintage Mobile Cinema. All of this, of course, was made possible by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, who we say a huge thank you to. I will be filming and catching up with the young musicians at FolkEast, so expect another podcast very soon, as well as a short film being published on the Trust YouTube and social medias, which, if you aren't following, please go and check out. Till then, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.